Y'all remember this one? This is Project Pleasure Island. This is a 2011 Ford Taurus, and it still needs an engine. I have been slacking. It's not like I've been doing nothing, but just not working on this. So, time to get back at it. As a recap, if I can recall correctly, the oil filter was damaged based on a little ride over Pleasure Island. A sign was hit, oil filter tore, oil blew out, engine kaput. So I've gotten the whole front end torn off, the bumper cover, headlights, all that stuff. All the radiator and AC condenser is out of the way. And now we have an engine. I need to get this engine out, and I need to get to the local pick your part junkyard and get myself a new one. So time to get going. The engine I got rolled over to the point where I could get all of the torque converter bolts out of it. I have some of the bell housing bolts loose. I need to finish removing the air conditioning pump, the alternator, any accessories I can get off the front, all the wiring harness on top, all of the fuel lines and everything else that's connecting the engine to the car, and then work on seeing what it takes to get this thing out. That's that. Time to get to work. I've got all the bell housing bolts loose. The intake is removed so the harness can come out. The AC compressor is hopefully out of the way. There's a strap underneath the intake. The motor mount is loose. And I believe it's ready to come out. Except for the power steering pump. That needs to be removed from the engine block. Down there. So I mentioned the power steering pump. I always forget on front wheel drive vehicles, there's a support bearing away from the transmission. So back by the power steering pump, there's also a support bearing for the CV shaft. That needs to be removed as well. It sucks, but it is what it is. Okay, so I've got my strap through my intake. I've got my motor mount loose. I've got my bell housing cracked loose. I was able to shake it with a pry bar. So my plan is to lift it up a little bit, remove this motor mount, and then hopefully I can move the engine over far enough to clear any dowels or alignment pins on the bell housing. That's promising. It picked up. Man, oof. It's a big old motor mount. Okay. Now, pick the engine up a little bit. See if we can wiggle this loose. Alright, well, I've got an issue. Here's my issue. My torque converter is still connected to my flex plate. In episode 1, I believe, I removed all those bolts and I made sure of it. So I don't know why it's still holding on, but that's not good. I don't want to force the torque converter back into the transmission pump. I want it to ease in. So I'm going to think about this for a little bit, see what happened. Okay. I've never had that happen before. I was second guessing myself and in all kinds of trouble, I felt like. But the pilot of the torque converter was stuck in the flex plate or in the crank. It would not come out. I ended up just having to pry it. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. But it's loose. So now my issue is that torque converter is out of place. And it's kind of just binding up. I've got like an inch of clearance between the flex plate and the transmission bell housing. But the torque converter is out of the transmission and out of the engine and just crooked. So now I'm going to see if I can finagle it somehow. I got to get that torque converter back in the pump, and hopefully I didn't do any damage. That was ridiculous. Well, unfortunately, I did cause some damage to the torque converter. You can see that bearing is pretty chewed up, and I don't trust it. So, unfortunately, I'll be looking for one of those at the U-Picket as well. So here I am at the local U-Picket, and come to find out, all their online inventory does not actually tell the truth. Most of the engines that they pointed me to were either 4 cylinders or the wrong era engine. So I found this Lincoln just looking around. It wasn't even on the website, and we're gonna see if this engine rolls over and go from there. That's pretty promising. I think we found the one. Time I get to work. Well, I'm already making a liar of me. That engine, the hood was open and the oil cap was off of it. And I didn't really like that idea. It's been super dry here lately, but there's still a lot of dust. I found one with the hood closed, no front end impact, minor. That could have been just from the yard. And this engine rolls over real well, and it's actually cleaner. So here we are. Well, it's been 30 minutes. Looks like I'm going to be able to get this engine out today. Hopefully some of those parts will fit my car, even though this is a Mercury Sable. It's very clean, and I'm pretty excited about this one. These are sweet cranes. All the tires are flat. And I'm going uphill. Now comes the fun part. Lugging this thing out of here. I'm already winded just getting the crane. I think I'm in row 17. And I'm in bay 20. So I gotta go 20 cars that way. Car widths. 17 car lengths plus aisles that way. Got myself a radiator, a fan, AC condenser, I'll get this engine and torque converter out of this car. I don't have my core support, and I don't have a mirror yet. But my core support is just cracked. So I can deal without that if I have to. I'm feeling like I have to deal without it. Holy cow. It is early. I gave myself till 3 o'clock. It's only 11. So that's good. I can get some parts in the truck. Take a breather. Maybe get a bite to eat and come back. Look for that mirror. It'd be nice to have a mirror. Core support's optional. We'll go for that. This was one of my first things I packed. Yeah. Yeah. Almost got it loose.
Yeah, the back is the holes.
Yep.
Inside.
Yep. Yep. And all underneath. Yep.
This
Torque converter.
the torque converter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
This.
Yeah,
Maybe one ball.
I'll look. I think it's coming. I think I see it.
One.
Yep.
Here.
This is the transmission stick. It stops right here. But I found a bracket.
Yeah.
It goes from here.
Oh, yeah, the bracket. Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Thank you. Break time. Okay, we're gonna drop the cradle. I think I did find one bolt back behind the transmission that I just can't get to. I've lost one socket between the engine and transmission, and I don't remember that one being in the engine I pulled yesterday. So I got the whole subframe loose. It's just dangling by the engine, I think. So I'm just gonna drop it down and see what happens. I don't understand why I don't just fall out. It's still tough to see that thing. Good news, I got it out. Bad news, I screwed up that torque converter too. I don't know what it is about those just wanting to stay in that crank. So I guess I'm gonna have to just get a reman. Maybe I could find one of those bearings at a transmission shop, but it might not be worth it. So now that I'm back in the shop, I see what the problem was. This far back bolt right there was no big deal on this engine, but because the other car was all-wheel drive, there was a whole nother differential system here that might have been able to be taken off and moved off out of the way. But that was the one bolt that held me up And I'm really glad that there's nothing in the way this time.